Okay, Rahul, please.
Good evening, sir.
Rahul's optional is political science.
Yes, sir.
He did electronics from SVU.
Yes, sir.
He has written this exam many times.
Sir, 6 times, including this option, this time.
Tell me, Rahul, why is it you are so much obsessed about this exam? Can I say you are obsessed or you are not obsessed?
With due respect, with due respect, I differ with that word, sir. I'm not obsessed, actually.
Okay.
I'm passionate about entering into civil services because myself want to create some space in the society, and I am trying for this service not to get that power or authority, but from childhood onwards I have a dream of doing something for the society. So this was a childhood dream, and I trying for the every time.
That's true, but why do you reject the word obsession?
Obsession has sir, some negative connotation, I feel. So I'm not obsessed with civil services, but I am passionate of doing something for the society. That's my dream, sir, actually.
What do you do if you don't get civil services?
Yes, I'll try my level best to get into service. If not, I have my options of either teaching or in whatever way I could contribute to the society, either in agriculture or in teaching. As of today, I also have contributed to the many students to get into some sort of examinations. So somehow I'll try to give my best in whatever field I could do, sir.
You mean you may even choose agriculture?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Why? How agriculture will? How will you contribute through agriculture?
Sir, if you observe the situation in today's society, I feel agriculture is the one sector which is one area which we need to concentrate a lot for the development of India, sir.
That's fine, but I'm asking about you. How will you contribute to the nation doing agriculture? It's very, very vague to me. Can you explain?
Yes, sir. With the kind of observations I made in agriculture and the kind of exposure I have in my studies, preparation for UPSC or newspapers, I've acquired some sort of knowledge with respect to agriculture.
Yeah,
So I will try to follow those practices.
Yeah, tell me that. What is that?
So I'll try to adapt some good practices in agriculture.
What are those good practices?
Either it is sustainable agriculture.
Not either it is. Why don't you be specific?
Yes. So there are lots of...
because if you think that can be an alternative to civil services,
yes, sir.
you must have thought a lot about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
So share your dreams and thoughts with me.
My dream with respect to agriculture is to make agriculture profitable, sir. So by venturing into agriculture, I want to set some example for not only for myself, but for the fellow farmers in my village or my
Do you
district.
have land?
Yes, sir.
How much?
5 acres.
Okay. Now tell me what you will grow on those 5 acres.
So as of today, we are going for paddy and citrus fruits in our farm, sir. Like lemon.
So will you change that?
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir.
Like how will you change?
So actually, paddy is not a suitable crop in my area, and citrus fruits is one area which we can explore a lot. I am trying to go for with my brother also. I'm trying to go for diversification in agriculture. So I'm trying to go for millets. I'm trying to go for horticulture. So when I myself go into agriculture, I'll definitely take into those aspects into consideration.
But 5 acres is too small.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir.
So what will you do?
So I'll try to, I have a thought, sir, if I can share that one. So I have a thought to organize farmers into farmer producer organizations in my village. So I was having this thought since my BTech onwards, and I'll try to do that if I don't get into civil services.
How many farmers are there in your village?
Almost like 2,000, 2,500, sir. I'm not very sure exact number.
2,000 farmers.
Yes, sir.
What is the population of your village?
8,500, sir.
Did you see the working of any FPO?
No, sir. To be frank, I have not seen. I have read in newspapers. I don't have exposure, direct exposure, but I have read about it, sir.
What is zero budget farming?
So zero budget natural farming, it is actually. It is a methodology where we reduce the cost of inputs and reduce the use
Why
of
is it
chemical-
called zero budget?
So it is called as zero budget because whatever we get from nature, we are trying to give it back through organic farming or other kind of inputs and trying to reduce the input cost. So the zero here reflects the input cost as well as the environmental impact on the of the agriculture.
Okay. Tell me, from your understanding of political science,
Yes, sir.
why is agriculture is what it is?
Yes, sir. So actually agriculture is the vocation in Indian society, but the kind of solutions we have given to the problems of agriculture is not very sustainable. The problems are very deep rooted, but the solutions have been given in a superficial manner. So I believe that agriculture need that kind of a political will, which is actually lacking in India, sir.
Political will to do what?
To sort out the deep root, deep problems of Indian agriculture.
What are they?
Either it is land reforms or either it is giving the push for agriculture infrastructure or irrigation infrastructure or giving real benefits to the small and marginal farmers. That is what is actually lacking in Indian society.
Okay. Why is it not? Why is it lacking?
So every government which is coming to power trying to address the problems, but given the financial constraints or given the political
But
constraints.
you know, when you think agriculture is a very serious crisis, and if politicians solve that problem,
Yes, sir.
it should be electorally beneficial to them.
Yes, sir.
So they should solve, and then it should help them politically. So what prevents them from working on the problem?
Yes, sir. Can I take some examples?
Please, please.
So one of the major problem in Indian agriculture is lack of market reforms. Farmers are not getting adequate returns on their produce, but most of the agriculture markets are controlled by the political leaders, so which prevent the political leaders to address the root cause in the agriculture marketing.
But then there are so many political leaders who are not related to agricultural markets.
Yes, sir.
So if they reform,
Yes, sir.
and if the farmers are benefited,
Yes, sir.
then the party is benefited.
Yes, sir. But to a sorry picture.
When so many people are living on the agriculture,
Yes, sir.
when they constitute good percentage of votes,
Yes, sir.
it is strange that the politicians don't address the problem.
Yes, sir. So if we can
Isn't
take-
it so?
Yes, sir. If I can take this help of political science, I can tell that if problems are addressed permanently, like the electoral politics will not be served, the actual interests of the politicians will not be served. So there is a perpetual cycle of dependence of farmers or the weaker sections on the politicians.
You mean to say problems are in the interest of the politicians?
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir.
That is really strange. You mean to say they don't they don't want to solve the problems?
They want to solve the problems, but in a very superficial manner, sir. They are not trying to address the real, actual, deep-rooted problems.
Why?
So they
Is
are
there any thinker who said any such thing? Because it's very strange to say that in a democracy politicians don't try to solve problems. You may say they are not capable or they are being influenced by somebody else.
Yes, sir.
But to say that they don't want to solve really any problem.
So I'm not saying that it's not because of lack of capability, sir, but lack of will, actually. Sorry, sir, at this point of time, I could not remember the scholar.
Not able to
Yeah.
recollect anything.
Yeah.
Fine. Is there any political scientist whom you liked most?
Yes, sir.
Who is
Obviously, John Rawls is one scholar which I get some sort of inspiration.
that? Okay. From Indian side?
Machiavelli to some extent, because I like
Machiavelli
his,
is not Indian.
sorry, sir, it is Kautilya.
Okay. Okay. Compare and contrast Kautilya and John Rawls.
So,
Or they are not comparable at all?
no, we can draw some sort of comparison, sir. We can draw
Like, tell me.
yeah.
Who is more relevant and whom do you like? You like Rawls.
If I can take one name, that's very difficult actually, sir. But I like John Rawls because the applicability in today's society, either if you see the Indian Constitution and the principles derived from the John Rawls thoughts, they're very much applicable in today's society. So, but in reality, Machiavelli or even Kautilya is practiced the most.
You mean Rawls should be followed whereas Kautilya is being followed?
Yes, sir. John Rawls is to be followed.
Okay, tell me one principle of Rawls which we should be following but we are not following.
Yes, sir. Yeah. He talks about justice, and he talks about justice as a complete fairness. Even though we are trying to fulfill that ideal, but we are not following to my belief.
Be specific.
Yes, sir. If you talk about addressing the inequalities in the society, can I take the example of Indian society? If I take that, in the last 20-25 years, there is inequalities are rising up. Even the Oxfam report has said that inequalities are increasing, and we are failing to address that inequalities.
That's why suggest one specific measure
Yes, sir.
that you think is justice.
So I can see one solution which is coming from Rawls, that is
Please.
addressing the basic standard of living for the weaker sections of the society. Either it is drinking water, health, or education, sanitation, those things, if we can provide to the people, that will to some extent empower the people and reduce inequalities. So justice through social angle, like as Indian Constitution said, Indian social justice. So I think social services can be provided to the people to address that inequalities.
But that's what government is trying.
Yes. The government is taking some measures, sir, but the implementation part is lacking. Can I take one example? If I take, since 1980s onwards, we are providing rural drinking water to the rural people. But even today, only 16% of the Indian society or rural societies are having drinking water. So I feel that, I believe
Okay,
that.
one last question.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, is political science really a science?
It is not a pure science, to my opinion.
When do you say something is a pure science, and tell me
Yeah.
to what extent it is pure or impure?
So, pure science means which is gone through the process of experimentation. If I do some experiment and get the same results again and again, so I can call it as a pure science. For example, physics, where if you prove the gravity, the value is almost same everywhere. So it's a pure science. But political science, the
What is
principle.
the nature of political science?
Political science is not a science, but it can be a social science also. It can be an art. It is a multidimensional disciplinary approach. Multidimensional, multidisciplinary approach. Some people can be called it as a science, some call it as a social science.
So how is social science different from science? Okay.
Science is more or less like it talks about facts, which are almost same everywhere, universal. But social science is more of the abstractism, or you can say it is more of value-based.
Science doesn't have values.
Science more emphasizes on facts, sir. Social science emphasizes on values.
Not facts.
So social science can also take the help of facts to prove its values. But science believes in facts, collecting facts. Even there can be some sort of value judgment, but the core idea of science is fact-based.
Whereas this is more of values.
Yes, sir.
Should a scientist have values? Or should a scientist be only factual in his orientation?
Scientists should have both factual and values also, sir, because science has more relevance in the society. I believe scientists should have both factual knowledge as well as to take the values of a society.
Okay, one last question. You are from Kadapa.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, do Kadapa people have any significant advantage because of the present Chief Minister?
So I believe he is the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, sir. And every person in Andhra Pradesh have equal right.
That's fine, but I'm asking you.
Not specific advantage, sir.
Why?
To my knowledge.
He's district oriented, he ignores his district, or he treats all districts equally?
Sure, sir. He's, every Chief Minister ought to treat that. I believe he's also treating.
I'm not asking what he ought to do.
Yes.
What does he do?
He's also doing the same thing, sir. He's treating every district equally.
I think you are a strong supporter of YSRCP?
Not sure. No, sir. I treat every political party, I go with the facts.
So at this rate, people shouldn't be voting at all, because they should treat all parties equally and they should not vote any party.
Whichever political party is doing better, I will vote to that
Thank
party.
you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
So, Naresh, what is your observation? This is good. See, on some areas you need to be prepared. You said agriculture as an alternative, but you didn't really think much. So you work on it, FPO. Because you are choosing. Whatever you are choosing, remember you should be good. If you are not choosing, then that's a different thing. Whatever you are choosing, you chose to say that if not civil services, I will do agriculture. Then you should have thought. So that is one. So give more practical answers at that place. And then political science and agriculture. There is no will, right? But I thought you would say that agriculture calls for long-term solutions and politicians are going by short-term interests. Loan waiver is short-term, but sustainable agriculture is long-term. So electoral politics are not in a position to take care of long-term interests because of short-term calculations. It is not necessary you should be in a position to give this answer. But the question is just take time. Take time and then say, I haven't thought. Okay, it is not necessary that you should give a great answer. It is enough if you understand the seriousness of the question and that you are not able to come up with an answer. That's all. Interview is over. That part is over. So at certain places you could have taken time and banked on I don't know. You are not doing that. Take time. See, basically just the fact that you are so familiar gives some fluency, edge. You must have thought so much about these issues. Okay, but then still you should hold I don't know as your friend. You answer, and then when you see you can't, take time. Will just take time. Then say, okay, I don't know exactly. So I'm again asking you that it's a significant agriculture dependent population. Why is it not able to solve? Then you simply blurted out that they don't want to solve. I don't know if you thought about it. That is a serious answer. Then I am bringing your I am bringing that answer to your awareness, but you are not reflecting on that. So basically, you are operating from your previous knowledge. That I would say is the summary. You are good. The fact that you are so much experienced. But mostly it is coming from your previous experience. And moreover, just the fact that you have written so many times, and this thing you are teaching, they will expect you to be at a higher level. His case would be different. He was basically BTech, MTech, and then suddenly he took to political science. But you are different. So you are expected to be different. That is how interview is different from mains examination. In mains examination, both of you will be evaluated on the same level, on the same expectations. But interview will expect more from you than from Naresh. Okay. So your answers are good, reasonable, but they are generated from your previous knowledge base. That I would say is the single most limitation in your interview. You have thought and so you will answer. But if something new comes up, you don't really respond. Remember, in the interview, what matters is actually not the knowledge. Through knowledge, they want to see how you are learning, how you are attentive, whether you can learn something new. You have not showed, for example, that you can learn. You are always saying, I thought about this. These are all the ways by which interview is different from mains. See, for example, going by the quality of the answers, your answers are much superior to his answers. But if you take into the fact that he did MTech and then he just entered political science, then they may look at his answers in an entirely different way. I mean, that's what interview is. That is the reason why some experienced people will get poor marks. And the beginners may get very high marks. So this is about background specific evaluation. So it is not at all necessary that if you give a high quality, more informed answer, you will get more marks. I mean, these are all strange things. And in some cases, they are very, very experienced. They are doing so well, but board simply doesn't want them. Not that they are bad. It's just that they may think, okay, he's better in some other job. Can't help. How many marks you got last time? Even now, in the light of your background, you will get only that many marks. In the light of your background. Similar marks, similar around that. In the light of your background. If you remove the background, if you give the same answers to some fresher, you will get very high scores. I mean, what do you see about my feedback? Does it make sense? I mean, understand this evaluation is background specific. So it is a different game. Background specificity is favorable to the fresher. It becomes increasingly unfavorable to the repeater because he has to do so much more. Isn't it so? That's my understanding. So the same answers from a fresher can get 180, 190, it can shoot up. But the same answers from an experienced person who has done the optional many times, then they will look out for some other thing. So I am asking you to pay attention to the variables, certain variables, which will determine the final score. I mean, do you agree with this evaluation or you have something else to say? Please. This is my experience because I was shocked. I was shocked by the people who are giving very good answers and yet get poor marks. And some people who are very poor in the answers and given very high scores. So this is how interview is different from mains. In the mains, examiner goes by the answer and not who wrote it. In the interview, they go by answer plus who is right, who is giving it. I was first shocked when I got to know this. I learned it very, very early in my interview training. How some people are getting such high scores. It is because they see, okay, he doesn't know much. Okay, but then he's just learning and he will learn one day. It is like that. So it's background specificity. So I would say your answers are good, but in terms of marks, it's a different issue. Isn't it? You will make a good teacher and you are already teaching. So they may think, okay, he will let him teach. How to show, take time. I mean, this is even more important for you. Take time, say I don't know, this I haven't thought of. High quality plus ability to learn, both are important. No, I want you to disagree. If you are disagreeing, I want you to say it. This is my understanding of the interview. Candidates often don't have any clue why they do so well and get poor marks. Okay. Exactly. take time, and you should think in any extended conversation, the last outcome be I do not know. I don't know is the natural end to the conversation. That is how you should take the conversation. I don't know is not something that you should avoid. I don't know is something that you should seek. Another difference between mains and interview is that in mains, answering will do, but in the interview, what kind of question you get is more important. So you will reach I don't know stage when you get difficult questions. You will get difficult questions when your answers are good. So I don't know should be the logical end of a good interview in every conversation. In fact, you could have said, yes sir, I only had I had dreams of farming, but I have not worked out the details. They would have just laughed. I know politicians are not addressing, I know they don't have will, but I haven't really thought much from political science point of view. That's all. All these are valid, not only valid, they give more marks in the interview. These are not valid answers in mains. You can't be smart. So interview is a strange stage where I don't know may get more marks than the actual answer. Because I don't know shows you are learning, you have understood the question, you have the courage to say I don't know. And that's what personality is. In mains, if you say I don't know, you will not get marks. Basically, students really forget that through the question answer session, they are testing personality. They always think in terms of answer to that question, in terms of knowledge. It is not like that. So sometimes I don't know will say many nice things about your personality. If you could have just said, sir, I only thought and dreamt of being a farmer, but I have not really looked into specifics. That's all. Something like that. Because they are also supposed to look at how you are, whether you can mix with others, your social skills. Intellect is only a part of the personality. Your social skills matter a lot. So you may end up giving an impression that he is knowledgeable in political science. Let him teach. That is after answering all the questions. That is the tragedy. Please work on it. So take time. I don't know. Give push. And whatever you are volunteering, prepare. Okay.